Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge, where terrible people get what they deserve. Hope you're all doing awesome today, and thanks for joining me, so let's just get right into today's stories. And also, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe for more. Want some free gas? I got you, bro. So several years ago, my friend, we'll call him Boris, and I would always help each other do the spring cleanup for our properties. This included taking out damaged trees, preparing garden plots, and taking care of our weed-infested yards. I was going to be first on the cleanup detail, so I prepared tools and implements the Friday before the big cleanup was to happen. Sharpening tools and chainsaw chains, lawnmower blade, and just getting everything in order. Among those tasks was mixing gas with 2-cycle oil. Finished up kind of late and generally put things away for the next day. The next morning, Boris shows up with coffee and biscuits around 8 a.m. As we were sitting on his tailgate enjoying breakfast, my neighbors ride by in their beat-to-hell Chevy Cavalier smoking like a freight train. We will call them Rocky and Bullwinkle. Boris and I made the usual jokes about the amount of smoke pouring from the exhaust. Damn, bet they go to the gas station and fill up with oil and check the gas. We soon finished breakfast and thought no more about it. As we begin to get the tools laid out and have a plan of attack, I cannot find my gas cans. No mixed gas, regular gas, or a gas can in general. That's when it dawned on us why the car Rocky and Bullwinkle were driving was smoking so bad. I'm pissed, to say the least. Well, all Boris and I could do was go shopping for gas cans, gas, and more 2-cycle oil. After we returned, we saw Rocky and Bullwinkle pass by several times, but all in all, we got a lot done. The next weekend we dedicated to cleanup at Boris's. A weekend or two go by, and we have a family dinner at my wife's, Rocky and Bullwinkle's grandparents. Toward the latter part of the evening, we were having a few drinks. Most people left, and myself and my wife's grandfather were shooting the breeze when I had to take a leak. As I was doing so, I saw a gas can with very distinct paint on it. I inquired from the old man about how it came into his possession, and he stated Rocky and Bullwinkle left it there. I simply explained it was mine, as was another, and loaded them into my truck. It ate at me every time that piece of crap car with my piece of crap neighbors went by, so I hatched a plan from a rotten egg. I went and bought a few gallons of gas, a few gallons of diesel fuel, and some other various oils. I made a concoction of these different chemicals and filled my new 6-gallon gas can I had to purchase. With some clean gas, I filled the lawnmower and cut some grass that evening, making sure Rocky and Bullwinkle saw me. Then I put everything away, but forgot and left that rotten gas can out. I got up and went to work the next morning and didn't even think to check on the can. But when I got home, I checked and it was gone. My wife informed me that my plan must have worked, as she watched Rocky and Bullwinkle go in and out with the car not only smoking, but spitting and sputtering as well. The last time they rode out, they didn't ride back in. They gave me about an hour of peace before they came over and wanted to know if I could look at the car and see what was wrong. If it could not be fixed on the side of the road, maybe tow it home. My response? I've had a long day and have a migraine. Maybe tomorrow. I saw the panic set in when I told them that. That's when they told me they had no insurance and it was on a main road. Tough luck. So the highway patrol did run across it and had it towed. It was going to cost them around $500 to get it out of impound, plus they had to have current registration and insurance. Car wasn't worth it. Well, they're those type of people that good luck just falls on them, and the pastor for a local church gave them an old Taurus. Took me a few cans of rotten egg gas, but I got the motor to lock up after about a month. This time, it quit in their grandparents' yard, so they scrapped it, and as luck would have it, they got their income tax returns. They bought a nice-looking Ford F-150, but it began having problems too. Smoked really bad. They did take it to a mechanic that eventually found the problem. He got the truck running right again for about $1,500, and I have never had any more gas come up missing. Thanks for reading. This is too good, these guys really just sabotaged themselves. OP barely had to do anything, just leave some gas out and call it a day. Which resulted in the first car getting impounded and just not being financially feasible to recover. The second car straight up getting destroyed. And the third one, while they did get it fixed, still cost them about $1,500. All just to try to save a few bucks on gas. What I'm wondering is they have to have found out what happened, right? I mean, I'm sure the mechanic must have told them that the problem was the fuel in the car. And since they were continually stealing OP's gas cans, they should have connected the dots, right? Maybe they did, and they just never had the balls to confront OP about it since, you know, they were the ones stealing from him in the first place. That's probably the most likely scenario. They say you can't put a price on happiness, but it cost me 250 grand, and it was worth every penny. My late husband was in a car accident his senior year in 1986 and got a settlement of $30K he could access at 18. He was a gearhead and wanted to buy a Corvette, but his mom didn't like that idea, so she made him a deal. If he bought the car, he would have to pay rent and storage for his other cars, or he could buy property and stay home rent-free as long as he wanted. So at 18, we started looking at property and he bought 10 acres for 5 grand. We intended to build there at some point or sell it later on. In the early years, we would have massive ragers. There was no one around to bother and it was great. Eventually, people bought and built on the lots around us, and zoning laws changed to allow 1 house per acre. So there were several houses, but it was still rural, and a few of us had large empty acreage the kids would use to ride their dirt bikes. We didn't care, let them have fun. About 15 years ago, another new house went in and it was right on the property line. They hadn't even finished construction on the house when the wife began calling to demand I take some trees down because they blocked her view. The funny thing was, the view they blocked was from the RV they were living in. Once they moved into the house, they wouldn't even be near those trees. So I said, sorry, but no, I'm not cutting the trees. She wasn't happy, and over the next couple years, she called to complain about all sorts of stupid crap and the noise of the kids on dirt bikes. Hell, she even got mad at people riding their horses because they made her dogs bark. One spring day, I drive out there and noticed the stream that ran across my property and theirs had been dammed and diverted on my land about 50 yards from their property line, which sent it along the dirt road that went down a hill and up the other side, creating a pond where it was blocked, and another at the bottom of the road and preventing me from accessing the majority of the property. Now, I knew it was their doing because the previous fall and winter she had called to complain my stream was causing her property to flood. First off, it wasn't my stream, and her property didn't flood. In wetter months, the stream naturally got larger. It flowed downhill and it kept to its banks for decades. Their lot was originally heavily wooded and they had cleared all of the trees, and I could tell they had done a bunch of grading, so if they had water issues, that's their doing, not mine. Anyway, I went home, and the following weekend we grabbed the small backhoe and a couple friends to unblock the stream. We hadn't even unloaded it before we heard her screaming and the cops showed up. They were unsure if they should stop us because our state is pretty environmentally conscious and there are strict wetland laws. The cops didn't know if we were rerouting the stream or if they had. I completely understand where they are coming from. And I knew this could happen, so not only did I bring pictures to show how the stream had been, but one of our friends was an official at the DOE. He was able to explain the law that we legally needed to put the stream back. We couldn't do much about the pond except wait for it to dry out, but we sent the stream back down its original channel. Of course, when it got to their freshly graded land, it had no channel to follow. And yeah, it did flood their yard. Unfortunately for them, there happened to be that DOE official who felt it was his duty to issue them a citation for diverting and illegally altering the stream. They ended up having to put the stream bed back and revegetate with native plants and shrubs in a 25-foot buffer zone, which took away a portion of their yard, pay us damages, and got a huge fine. As the spring and summer progressed, the kids on dirt bikes discovered the pond. By this time, it's 8 to 18 inches deep, and they are loving riding through it. So instead of just riding through there, they spend hours in that area, much to the annoyance of the neighbor. She calls the police multiple times, but the kids would either be gone or say they have permission to be there. So the police call us and we say, yup, let them ride. Now, we did have concerns about liability if they got hurt, but we liked pissing her off, so we took the risk. Not the best idea, and thank God no one ever did get hurt that we knew about. A couple years go by. She has learned to text because we ignored her calls when she has something to complain about. I make my annual spring visit and notice there are 23 large cedar and fir trees cut down. 5 have been cut up, and a path leads directly to their very full woodshed. I was pissed. This isn't something I can just fix, and you don't screw with my trees. I called the police, and their excuse was that firewood was their sole source of heat, and they needed the wood. They cut so many so it would dry over the next couple years. They get another no trespassing order. The stream one had expired, and got charged with theft and vandalism. It took a couple years, but they ended up having to pay 10 grand for each tree they cut down. So that was nice. Plus we sold 15 of the trees and made another 45 grand. They were pissed, to say the least. Life goes on, and we still got texts every time she heard a dirt bike, a horse going by, or whatever irritated her on any given day. We started having summer campout parties over the next few years, and she always called the police or fire department. Of course, we never got cited because we are not stupid and didn't break any laws. Sadly, my husband died suddenly, and eventually I decided it was time to sell because I wasn't going to build a house there. So I listed the property for $1 million, which was the market rate at the time. Remember, it was 10 acres, and you can build one house per acre. Of course, anytime people went out there, she would flag them down and tell them it flooded and all sorts of nonsense. She didn't want anyone to build or be there. I should have renewed the second trespass order, but it expired right around the time my husband passed, and it just wasn't important at that moment. Developers were not bothered, and we did get a few offers under ask I was happy with. But I really wanted to sell it to an individual who wanted to build a single home. Just being stupid and sentimental. My agent wasn't happy, but understood. One day, he calls me with an offer that is much less than any of the others, and they wanted to do an owner-carried contract for 3 years, with a balloon payment to pay me off at the end of the 3 years. It's a couple who wanted to meet me out there. I didn't have anything going on the upcoming Saturday, so I said I would meet them, with the understanding that I really wasn't interested in carrying the contract, and the price was too low. We figured they were hoping to change my mind, and we were hoping they would come in with a better offer. They got there before me, and when I arrive, the bitch is there telling them how bad the property is. I parked on the main road and was walking in, so none of them even knew I was there. As I approach, 2 little kids come flying up on dirt bikes. She comes unglued, grabbed a rock, and threw it at them, but she was nowhere close to hitting them. The guy immediately starts yelling at her and tells her to get the F out of there. It scares her and she left. He sees me and begins to apologize, but I stopped that and thanked him. We start talking, and he explained part of the reason they wanted this specific property was because they had 2 young boys who rode motocross, and he loved the trails, plus he wanted to build a track for them. When he showed me where, I knew he was my buyer. I took a $250,000 loss on the sale and carried that contract just to spite that bitch. While that is a huge sum, remember, we paid $5,000 for it and got almost $300,000 for the trees and another $20,000 for the nonsense with the stream, plus enjoyed the property for almost 30 years, and I got the interest on the contract and the balloon payment, so it wasn't like we really lost out. Plus, knowing the bitch was going to be miserable for years to come, you just can't put a price on that. I sold it 6 years ago, and I still go out a couple times a year just to check it out. They have built a beautiful house at the farthest point from the bitch, and there is a huge track up by her place. She still sends me nasty texts, and I should probably block her, but it makes me smile each time knowing she is still pissed. Well worth the loss, and I know my late husband would approve. He always knew I was a petty bitch. So yeah, OP said it pretty well, didn't she? She didn't really spend or lose $250,000, she just decided to forego it, and she still made plenty off the property in the end. And she's right, she is petty for doing that, but that's what makes this so damn good. Thanks for telling your story, OP, I really enjoyed that one. I hope all you guys did too. If you enjoyed, drop a like on the video, and also, subscribe for more. Comment down below any thoughts you have about these stories. And with that, I'm out of here, so take care and stay safe.